Man, the last 15 months or so, 15, 16 months have been wild. I don't need to tell you that. But for all of our nonprofit folks out there, uh, it was doubly weird. The nonprofit world, the nonprofit community was just straight up decimated by the pandemic. And nonprofit organizations such as ours, like the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce, were hit particularly hard. I'll tell you why. A traditional nonprofit, a normal quote unquote nonprofit, is designated 501c3 nonprofit organization. So they have tax exemption. They can receive donations, and then those donations are tax deductible, et cetera, et cetera. Chambers of commerce, like us and any other membership-based chamber organization, is designated a 501c6, and accordingly are structured a little bit differently. And a lot of the first initial wave of financial support for nonprofits stipulated that you had to be a C3. So a lot of chambers of commerce were left out in the lurch. So nationwide, there have been chambers of commerce closing down left and right, and blah, blah, blah. It's been rough. It's been rough for nonprofits, and anybody that's worked in the nonprofit world over the last year plus is probably going, or if you volunteer or on the board or are on the board for, say that 10 times fast, I dare you, for a nonprofit, you have probably run, you're nodding your head in agreement, you've run into similar issues. The Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce has been really fortunate in that we've had some excellent leadership from our board, from our advisory council, and from our executive director and founder, Saul Newton, that has brought us full circle. And in 2021, we've experienced very encouraging growth in almost every measurable metric. Just really exciting year for us. And we want to share with you how we did it and why we did it and the changes that we made to make all of that happen. So today, instead of having a guest from an external source, today our guest is our own executive director, Saul Newton, and he's going to talk about what he did as a leader to bring us back from what was a really sobering situation for nonprofits everywhere as we were grappling to deal with this pandemic. So this is a mid-year state of the chamber address. So if you're interested in learning about not only things that are going on with the chamber, where, maybe you're a constituent, maybe you're a member, maybe you're a sponsor, maybe you're an aspiring member, or you're contemplating, this conversation's for you. But also, if you work for or with a nonprofit, you're going to want to know how this guy did what he did. And how, in the face of, against all odds, he was able to lead this organization into not just surviving, but thriving, and then really poising the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber for a heck of a year, remainder of this year, and what's going to be a heck of a 2022. So we're going to get right into it after this. Stick around. I liked that intro song so much that I redid the outro video, not with that song, but with something that was peppy like it. Our former outro video used to be kind of chill, and sure, I'm into that lo-fi vibe, but we got to keep people pumped up, so you don't want to go anywhere. You want to see the outro video, our newly revamped outro video. But most importantly, before that, my good friend, Saul Newton. Sir, how are you? His phone's ringing. He's a popular guy.
Doing well, Adam. Sorry about that.
This is Saul Newton's day. Basically, he can't go in here. His phone's ringing off the hook. He's a busy guy. How are
How you
things?
doing, Adam?
I'm doing great. Doing really good. Very exciting time for our organization. We had a really exciting week last week. But let's go back in time. Let's go to this time last year. And what were you seeing as a leader of a membership-based nonprofit organization? What were your challenges, and what were you thinking at that moment? And what was your vision at that time?
Well, as you mentioned in the in the intro, we are designated as a membership association, which has a special designation by the IRS. And so a lot of the relief programs that were created in the last year weren't extended to chambers of commerce or other membership organizations. So, for instance, PPP. Well, we weren't eligible to apply for those, and it was actually speaking of the value of membership organizations. It was national groups representing chambers of commerce who lobbied hard to make sure that the PPP program was extended to include chambers of commerce
in subsequent rounds.
Yes, yeah, that took effect in the stimulus bill that was signed under President Trump at the end of last year. But yeah, I mean, just like for a lot of businesses, and I always say that nonprofit is not a business model; it's a tax status. So we operate just in a lot of the same ways that businesses do. But it was a tough year, and so we were really forced to fundamentally adapt our programming, the way that we engaged with our members, the way that we served our members, and also make some changes in the way that we just operated internally to be able to endure through the last year and about a year and a half.
So this time last year, we're looking at people starting to dole out stimuli. I'm not sure what the plural is, and we're seeing our tax status not listed in those that are beneficiaries of potential PPP dollars, and we don't know if that's going to change. It ended up changing, thank goodness, for a lot of people in our industry, but we don't know if that's going to change. Were you worried? Did you think that there was a chance that this, much like other organizations, weren't going to weather?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our entire operating model was really decimated by COVID because so much of what we did prior to COVID revolved around hosting events as a way for us to engage with our members, to share valuable information, and for our members to network with one another, to build those relationships. We really had to take a hard look at, what are we going to do to be able to make it through this? Closing the doors was never really an option in my mind. One way or another, we were going to find a way to make it through. But yeah, it was very difficult to see how we could continue operating without doing what we do best, which is facilitating relationships and connections and offering opportunities for engagement.
And Bill just came in with a great comment. Bill Meisel's a good guy. He said, not only did Saul keep the chamber running efficiently, but helped hundreds of vets. You bet he did, and continued to do so. And
thanks, Bill.
If anyone else has any comments, questions, or whatever you want to throw out there, whether you're watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, just throw it out there. First comment award goes to LinkedIn. LinkedIn wins the day again. So Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch are fighting for second place right now. It's admirable. Second place is an admirable position. So we'll see who can hop in there. I got money on Twitch today. I think Twitch Twitch will surprise you. I think Twitch is gonna get second place, and then Facebook, and then I think YouTube is just gonna have, lurkers that aren't commenting. I could be wrong though. Prove me wrong. I don't know. But if you have questions for Saul, throw them out there. So how did you keep the chamber running efficiently? I know you had to make some pretty tough decisions. What was the hardest part of this whole thing for you?
The hardest part was unfortunately we did have to furlough some of our staff, and that was incredibly difficult because, as you know, our staff really is a close knit group, and is a bit of a family amongst ourselves. But certainly. Made a lot of the same tough decisions that, again, a lot of our members had to make, a lot of other businesses had to make. But that was definitely the toughest. But again, everything, one of the reasons that I think veterans are well suited for business ownership is, there's first of all, there's a certain resiliency that you're taught in the military, and that translates well. To business ownership, but also, there's an attitude towards risk that I think is different, where veterans view risk as something to be mitigated, not something to be avoided, and so over the course of the last year, everything was really about how can we mitigate the risk so that the pitfalls are minimized or avoided as much as possible, and make it through to the other side. Unfortunately, we did have some really fantastic, as you mentioned at the beginning, supporters, everyone from our board of directors to our advisory board to the folks that volunteer with us, our members, folks who were just as much of a support to us as we strive to be for them. And that was really, I think, what got us through to the other side.
So your vision didn't change. The vision remained the same to make Wisconsin the best state for veterans and to create that ecosystem. And we have a great question here from Greg that we're definitely going to get to here in a second. Appreciate that, Greg. Facebook surprised us, gets the second place prize for second comment of the day. Twitch, YouTube, who's going to come into third place? I don't know. We're going to find out. But your vision didn't change. But the way that you had to accomplish the mission and support your constituents and prove your value, if you were going to hope to get any retaining or returning members, had to change drastically. So why don't you tell us about that? What changes did you have in mind? How did you implement those? And how many of those are going to stick around in perpetuity? What worked? What didn't?
There was a certain amount of trial and error, just like there was for our organization in the very beginning. Underlining everything that we do is how can we best serve our members and the business community as a whole. We're always driven by increasing that value proposition that we present not only to our members but to the broader community. And so one thing was continuing to be that resource navigator to be able to make sure that our members had access to all of the resources that were coming from both the federal government, the state government, local governments, the private sector. Veterans are among those historically underserved populations in terms of access to capital, technical assistance, and so it was really important for us to make sure that we were serving as that resource navigator, and obviously shifting a lot of our programming to digital platforms, which was new for us. Things like starting a podcast and starting weekly streams and really leveraging our digital platforms, which was something that we hadn't really done prior to COVID, but has really helped us has really helped us leverage those to again highlight our members, make sure that excuse me, make
Patriot.
sure, make sure that people
Where's
are.
the other one? What's your other dog's
No,
name?
that's Patriot. My other dog's name is Roscoe.
Roscoe.
But yeah, leveraging those social platforms to really highlight our members, to highlight all of the aspects of this business community that we've been able to develop over the last 5.5 years. And that's been really encouraging, because it's allowed us to really increase our reach as well, and reach businesses and individuals across the entire state of Wisconsin. We've always had a very diverse membership. We've had members from all over the state, but as much as we may strive to, there's only so many places we can physically be at one time. So,
right.
So having resources like this really, I think, helped us.
Well, and I appreciate your vision on this big time, because a lot of these changes, to digital-based service and passing of information and digital-based programming was something we had talked about since back when I was a volunteer for the organization years and years ago. I believe it's been years and years ago, but here we are. But we had just never done it. And I think that there are a lot of people that were forced to make some changes that they've been talking about, saying we really should do this. We're forced because of COVID to finally do it, to finally pull the trigger and make it happen out of necessity. So in many ways, silver lining was it forced us to make some of those changes. And we started, like a lot of people did and are continuing to do, by doing remote registered seminars and presentations, Zooms, GoToWebinar, GoToMeeting. And at first it was novel for a very short amount of time. And then everybody started to get Zoom fatigue. And we saw that the formal registration process for free event webinars was not reliable, because there was no skin in the game. There was no, and this was part of that trial and error process that Saul was talking about. We saw that, it was hard for us. We'd get 10 people registered for a webinar, and they hadn't paid. They had no skin in the game, and they were being Zoomed to death all day, every day. So it was very common for them to skip out. And who can blame them? So we realized that there was more value in going not more formal or going with paid offerings, which we tried to, but to go in the streaming direction, to give this a shot. And I appreciate your vision on that and your flexibility, saying like, let's try this. Is a good thing about being part of a nimble organization is we gave it a shot, and we really started to find the secret sauce. And we started we formalized and more frequently sent out our newsletters. We have a regular time for our weekly stream. We turn those most of the time into podcasts. We've been content machines, and what we found is that's been a great way for us to provide value to our members, our sponsors, and our constituents, is by highlighting them and celebrating their successes and the things that they have going on, and informing our constituents about important things, and just being like information warfare times 1,000. And then we started to see membership requests coming in that were unsolicited, that were not tagged to an event or a relationship. It was just people saying like, hey, I saw X organization in this newsletter. I want to be part of that, or I want to be a guest on your show, or I want the marketing benefit. So that has really been huge for our organization. And I would encourage anyone if you're having a hard time reaching your audience in the way that you'd like, to really invest in your story and your storytelling, and not just how you're telling your story, but the way in which you are distributing that story to the people that you want to get the story to. So appreciate your vision on that. How much of this is going to continue? And what worked? Is there anything that didn't work? Is there anything that you said that you're thinking, yeah, we'll probably go ahead and stop blank, once this is behind us? Or are we just going to keep moving forward and continue to adapt?
I definitely think that we've always been a flexible and nimble organization, and always exploring and trying new things. As I said, there's one common thread that underlies everything that we do, which is how can we best provide value to those individuals and businesses that we serve. Moving forward, we will continue to do this type of digital content, even when we have in-person gatherings, events, presentations, subject matter experts. We'll continue to offer those remotely, because we do have constituents in every corner of the state. Our members and our audience stretches from Superior to Kenosha, from Platteville to Green Bay, and all points in between. So, we want to make sure that we are continuing to serve our members no matter where in the state they are located. The other thing that will, I think, continue will be just, again, our commitment. That is something that hasn't changed since day one, is our commitment to, again, our members and to the business community that we serve. When we started the Veterans Chamber 5.5 years ago, there wasn't any type of business organization or association dedicated to serving veterans and service members and their families in the state. And so, we really stepped into that space and take that responsibility seriously. And so that's something that, has remained throughout the pandemic. And now that we're coming out the other side, is something that will continue. We've made some adjustments to our schedule of events. Typically in the past, we would host a conference every May. That has now been moved to November. We have made some adjustments to some of the topics that we cover, doing things like theme months, which you've been
which was your
really
idea.
spearheading
for that one. Yep.
But making sure that we're always being intentional about how can we present information that's valuable to our audience, but also highlight this vibrant business community that covers the entire state. I'm very sorry about my dog.
Okay. Hey, this is our world. This is our work from home world. At any moment, you could see the blonde head of a little 4-year-old walking across here. Grab my graph paper notebook, which for some reason he only will draw on graph paper. I don't know why. He didn't use it. He just draws normal pictures on it. I don't get it, but it's part of our world now. We get it.
Yeah.
You're good. So the overarching lesson is don't give up, but on a tactical level, you may need to, while maintaining your vision, adjust course, and it could be good in the long run. And that's what happened for us is we focused on our storytelling and stayed focused on our vision, and really doubled down on this remote content creation, and it's worked out. And moving forward, we found that as we get back into live events, there's going to be a cross-pollination. They really are going to feed into one another. Our first live event was last week, and it was a muster, and it was slamming. It was packed, and everybody was making good business connections and trying to remember everybody's name through the COVID amnesia and all that stuff. But so we've got live events coming up throughout the state in Q3 and Q4. So Greg's question, finally getting to that, Greg, what is on the horizon that you're excited about, and how is it going to be different than chamber stuff of the pre-COVID era?
I think that what I'm most excited about is getting back to those in-person opportunities. It's something that in 2019 we hosted 52 events around the state. We hosted dozens of events in Madison and South Central Wisconsin, Western Wisconsin, Northeastern Wisconsin, Fox Valley, and Green Bay. And that's something that I'm very excited to get back to, and to even go to areas where we haven't been before. Excited to be able to bring our programming to areas of the state where we just haven't been able to physically be previously. I'm also excited about really taking a larger role in kind of highlighting the overall business community and having more of an impact. We announced roughly about a month ago that we are organizing the Wisconsin Veterans Day Parade this year, which will be held in Milwaukee, but will incorporate businesses and organizations from all across the state. Because there is such a vibrant community of veterans and service members and their families and businesses, and it's important for our state to recognize and celebrate that service, and I think it's particularly fitting for the business community to play a leading role in that. So those are things that I'm really excited about, but things that will continue are things that people have gotten used to now. Our newsletters and all of our activity across social media platforms, streaming. I think that we'll offer even more streaming. There's ideas that we have that we want to try out, but all of that with the caveat that we're also always looking for ideas and suggestions. So anybody who is listening or watching today and has a thought and says, "Hey, it would be really cool if you guys did X, Y, Z." We always welcome that kind of input and suggestions because again, we're always looking for ways that we can be of service.
Right on. So I'm going to quiz you a little bit. I'm putting you on the spot here. In Q1 and Q2 of this year, do you know how many events, remote events, we held to include office hours? So this counts as a remote event, and live events, because we had some live events last week. So live and remote events, how many did we have in Q1 and Q2 of this year?
I would guess that the number is somewhere between 70 and 80.
Not quite. 52.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Still quite a bit.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Still quite a bit. And those are just things that are offered externally. If you include internal things or membership only stuff, it's probably closer to 70. So you're right. I'm putting you on the spot with that. Now, proposed and soon to be verified as we connect, how many events are scheduled live and remote for Q3 and Q4? Let's quiz the day.
I believe that for Q3 the number is 38. So I'm going to again say that the number is somewhere between 70 and 80.
You're right. So what we're looking at total for the year is over 100 combined live and remote events for the chamber.
Yes.
Which would you say that is more than any year previously?
Oh, by far.
By double.
Yeah. I mentioned in 2019 we had we offered 52 events, which were roughly averaged out to be about one every week. And when I tell people that, they're really taken aback at how active that schedule is, and we're just gonna hit the gas here. I mean, like everybody else, we're excited to kind of come out the other side of this, and we know that again, the way that we can best serve our members and our community is by offering opportunities for them to engage with one another, to bring together business owners and employers and community resources and individuals, and just give them the opportunity to build those connections. And so, it's it's an aggressive schedule, but don't underestimate our team.
Yeah, we're gonna bring the thunder. So what's we talked about what the future holds, and I just want to ask if anybody's watching that's involved in a nonprofit, whether you run one, work for one, or on the board for one, or whatever, and they are still looking at the balance sheet right now and looking at their future and saying, I don't know if how we keep the lights on, or they're feeling like, we don't know how we recover from this. What advice would you give to those leaders to maybe help them through? Maybe you received advice that helped you overcome. What would you tell those people that are just feeling down in the dumps right now?
Well, I can definitely empathize. And I would say that, at least the way that I think we've been successful is we came up with a plan. We looked at the objective and we kind of backwards mapped to how do we get there? What revenue do we need to bring in? How do we generate that revenue? What costs do we need to cut, or efficiencies do we need to find? And how do we, implement those? But aside from that, be strategic, and ultimately, lean on your network, lean on the people around you, because there are people, as we said, we've been really fortunate in the last year to not only be an organization that I think has been impactful and been able to serve hundreds, if not thousands of businesses, but also benefit from the support of our board members, of our advisory board members, our sponsors, our member businesses, individuals like Bill and Greg who are volunteers and serve on various committees. We've been really fortunate to have folks that believe in the mission and vision of this organization and have been willing to support us. So anybody who is trying to find a way through the other side of this thing, lean on the people around you.
That's good advice. Executive Director of the Wisconsin and founder, Executive Director and founder of the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce, Saul Newton. I appreciate you, sir. Appreciate your time today. Hang on the line for just a minute here. That's good, inspiring stuff. It's inspiring stuff. So hang in there. Lean on your network. Some good advice. And connect with Saul on LinkedIn. Get a coffee meeting set up with the guy. He's open and is happy to share, because all boats rise together, right? We're here to help one another in the nonprofit world, especially the veteran serving nonprofit world. Come on, we're all on the same team. Well, I appreciate your time. This week, you don't want to go. You want to stay right here because we got the new outro video, remember? And I even left a little space on the bottom for when it's on YouTube and you do the follow along video. It goes in the space. I'm very proud of it. Looking forward to your feedback. Actually, you know what? I don't want feedback on it. I think it's great. You just keep your feedback, take your feedback, and go kick rocks. I don't need it. Here it is.